Have you ever wondered what the shortest war in history was? Let's take a trip back in time to the late 19th century, to the island of Zanzibar. Here, a unique record was set. The shortest recorded war in history, the Anglo-Zanzibar War. This curious conflict, deeply entwined with British involvement in Zanzibar, unfolded in a blink of an eye, compared to other historical wars. Now, how exactly does a war last for only 38 to 45 minutes? Was the death of the Sultan. Now the Sultan we're talking about here was Sultan Hamad bin Thuwaini, a man who had a cordial relationship with the British. With his demise came an immediate power vacuum. Sultan Khalid bin Bargash saw this as an opportunity and quickly ascended to the throne. The issue? The British were not fans of Khalid. They saw him as a threat to their interests. This ascension was also a direct violation of a treaty with Britain, known as the Heligoland-Zanzibar Treaty, which required the British consul's approval of any new sultan. The British wanted to maintain control and influence over Zanzibar, and Khalid's quick and unapproved ascension didn't sit well with them. This was the spark that led to the conflict we know as the Anglo-Zanzibar War. The British ultimatum to Khalid was clear: step down or face the consequences. On the morning of August 27, 1896, the shortest war in history began. As daybreak came, the tranquil waters around Zanzibar were shattered by the thunderous roar of British cannons. The Sultan's palace was the primary target, and the British firepower was overwhelming. The palace, once a symbol of the Sultan's authority, was quickly reduced to rubble. The Sultan's forces, ill-prepared and outgunned, could barely put up a fight against the might of the British Navy. Sultan Khalid, realizing the futility of resistance, surrendered, but not before a significant portion of his palace had been decimated. With the palace in ruins and the Sultan in custody, the British swiftly installed a new Sultan, one who was more amenable to their interests. This rapid transition of power was a clear testament to the British's strategic dominance and military prowess. In less than an hour, the war was over, making it the shortest recorded war in history. So, what were the consequences of this brief but impactful war? The aftermath of the Anglo-Zanzibar War was far-reaching, shaping the course of Zanzibar's future and further cementing British influence in Africa. After the smoke cleared, Sultan Khalid, who had instigated the conflict, was captured and exiled, first to Seychelles and later to St. Helena. His swift overthrow marked a significant shift in power and left a vacuum that the British were all too willing to fill. British influence in Zanzibar strengthened, and the Sultanate was effectively transformed into a British protectorate, with the British consul assuming a great deal of control. The war, though brief, was a stark snapshot of the era of imperialism. It was a time when empires like Britain were extending their reach across the globe, often at the expense of indigenous peoples and their cultures. The events in Zanzibar were a microcosm of this larger trend, a small piece of the puzzle that was the scramble for Africa. The Anglo-Zanzibar War, despite its brevity, was a significant event in the annals of history. It underscores the fact that the length of a conflict does not determine its historical significance or impact. In this short time, we've journeyed through the events of the shortest war in history, the Anglo-Zanzibar War, a conflict that lasted less than an hour, but had lasting impacts on the history of Zanzibar and British imperialism. Interesting, isn't it, how even the briefest moments can hold such significance in our shared history?